Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I am the birthday girl. That's right. This is uploaded on my birthday. And right now, if you're watching it on the day it's uploaded, I'm in the best place to be on a birthday. Cincinnati. Specifically, I'm at the Trick Taking Convention right now. So I'll have a video for that coming soon. Oh, it's just the best place on earth. But you know what is also wonderful about birthdays? Specifically this one, is that we are celebrating it by, you know, the classic birthday thing, gifts. Giving gifts. We have hit 2455, 2555, and 2655 subscribers. So the best thing you can do on a birthday is give gifts. So I'm going to be giving out to celebrate 2455, 2555, 2655, 3 separate gifts. 2 copies of Sail, as I drop things. 1 upside down and 1 right side up. And a copy of Nirvana. Thank you so much to Leon for sending this. This is going to go out to, you know what? If you want a copy of any of these, and actually they're going to come with deluxe bits. They're over off the camera. If you want a copy of these, including the deluxe bits, just put in the comments, I never think about this, put in the comments what game you think I should cover. That would be helpful. It's been on my mind as of late. I think often people will write in the comments, hey, you should cover this game. And I'm trying to keep a list, but I think just asking, hey, what should I cover, will help me structure months, because I like to do, you know, themed months and things like that for the channel. So that'd be really, really fun. In addition to putting what game you think I should cover, also put, you know, whether you want Sail or Nirvana or both. I want to make sure that people get the games they want the most. So happy birthday. And it's a special birthday as well. It's 2 to the 5th. That's right, I'm turning 32 to the 5th power. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful year. So many surprises in store. I've been working on some amazing games that I cannot wait to talk to you about. They're going to be very, very exciting. So, the game we're going to cover today is actually something that from the recent Tokyo Game Market has been, I don't want to reveal my hand, it's kind of been my #1 game I've been playing. I've loved it. I've played it the most, and I think liked it the most. I think it's a sign that I've played it the most because I've liked it so much. It is, I can never say it, I call it Stealth School, but I think it's like Shiboku, I don't really know. And it's by Emmy. And the hook is, it is a climbing shading game where you get your hand dealt to you. That was a kind of a Freudian slip, but, or Freudian slip, not really a Freudian slip. That was kind of a slip of the tongue, but not really. Because the hook is, you get your hand dealt to you, and you actually break it up into 2 hands. One face up on the table, the earth hand, and then one to just you, in your hand, your heaven hand, that no one else can see. So you have a face up one on the table, one in front of you. And you might be saying like, why would you want to show cards to the other players? Why would you have a very big earth hand? It's because you actually have 2 actions on both. You can play and play. So you kind of want to keep them even, roughly. There's some strategy there that we can talk about later. But anyway, it's first to shut out, but you have 2 separate hands that you build. Wild. And James Nathan said it best. It is wonderful because it has a little dash of a Bluxen, a little dash of Linko. Whew. All that to say, we're going to cover a wonderful game today on the birthday video. And thank you so much for 2455, 2555, 2655 subscribers. We actually have even hit 2755 as of this recording, but we'll do another giveaway later. But thank you so much. It's surreal. It's hard to explain. It's all that and more. And seriously, thank you so much. It means the world. This year's going to be absolutely wonderful, and I can't wait to cover more and try to have, you know, I want to have this channel be a good resource often. So yeah, I'll try to pay attention to what games you want, and I'll try to cover them during this year, and also some fun surprises that I have lined up. So thank you so much for watching. It means the world. Let's go to the table and I'll teach you how to play. The deck in Stealth School is 5 copies each of numbers 1 through 13. If you're playing with 3 players, you're going to remove the 12 and the 13. Here we have the game of Stealth School set up for 3 players. So depending on the player count, you're going to shuffle the deck and deal out a certain number of cards. At 3, it's going to be 15. At 4, it's 13. And then at 5, it's 11 each. You're always going to have cards left over because you're going to use that to kind of set the initial starting meld here. You usually will just have 2 different ranked cards. You're going to put the lower one on this side and the higher one on this side. Players are going to be climbing up and then also down at the same time. If you ever get the same number, like let's say we flipped out 2 10s, you would just group them together. The other part of setup is players are going to look at their hand, and this all happens at the same time. They're going to choose which cards they want to be in their earth hand and which on into their heaven hand. And their earth hand is just going to be face up on the table, and then the heaven hand is going to be hidden to just them. Let's say this mountain player wants to put, these 2 11s, this 2 8s. This is going to get a little bit messy. Let's turn this so we can kind of fix that a little bit. So the mountain character, they're going to put a couple of those out there. They're looking at these other part of their hands. They don't want to split up the 11s. Well, they'll do that, and then they're going to include maybe a 4 and a 2. So that's kind of how they split up their hand. Players are going to be doing this simultaneously. We're just going to do it randomly for the whirlpool and the tentacle. And then there is going to be a player that's going to start. This is just going to go to the last played player. It's kind of easy to track. Personally, so we didn't really use it, so I'm just going to remove it for the ease of teach here. And then finally, this is coming into play a little bit later, but that's also part of the game. A game of Stealth School is going to end when a player is out of both cards in this hand, their heaven hand, and their earth hand. So you're kind of shedding 2 hands. And what's interesting about this game is when it comes to your turn, so let's just say it's the mountain player's turn right now, you actually have 2 different actions you can do with both hands. So you can take cards from this center kind of tableau that everyone's playing off of, or you can play cards. So super simply, you could play down here. So let's say they chose to play a 3. And then you can also play with your other hand. So they chose to play a 2. Because as you can see, you're climbing down, or you're, what's down for climbing? You're going down this way and you're climbing up that way. So as you can see, this is kind of building this tableau here. So this player, they decided to play and play. You can play any number of cards, and you can do any order. So instead of playing that 3 and that 2, let's rewind a little bit. A smarter play maybe would have been, they could have played the 2, and then they could have played all these 1s, because you can play any number of cards. What's interesting is, and this kind of already got to the use of this lock, if there's ever on either end a different number of cards, then you're going to lock the one that has higher number of cards, and players can't play on this end until things balance out. Either someone plays, 3 11s. So let's just say, again, for that example, just to clean it up a little bit, we just decided to do that. So with the simpler example going forward, it now goes to the tentacle player. And they're looking at their hand. Maybe they have these 2 9s that they really want to play. So maybe they take with their top hand. They just made their top hand strong with the 10s. And now this opens up this 4. So now they can play these 2 5s that were previously blocked by that 10. So now they've done an action with both hands. They are done. So they did a take and a play, as opposed to this player over here, which did a play and a play. As you can see now, again, we're in that situation where there's more cards. There's a higher number of cards up here than there are down here. So this is going to lock. So coming to the whirlpool player, now they can only interact with this bottom part. So maybe that's what they decided to do. They decided to take to make the 2s stronger. And they're going to take up here to make their 3s stronger. So they just took and took. So we've kind of seen everything here. We saw play and a play and a take, and a take and a take. So it comes over to this player. Again, it's a climbing shedding game. So you just go around and around and around and around. And they can only play down here. So this actually is nice to where the 1s came in handy. So they're going to play the 1s first from their heaven hand. This now shifts the lock because 3 is greater than 2. Comes over here. So now they're up here. They can now only play or take from up here. So they could take these 5s and put it into this hand. Again, they've played from their heaven hand, so they can't do anything with the heaven hand. So they're just working with the earth hand right now. So they can take these 2 5s and put them in here. Or they could play these 2 8s, because that works perfectly. You can't ever just play a single if there's multiple here. you have to match or go higher. So they could play these 3 11s, but they're going to play these 2 8s because they think that is perfect for them. So then they're done. So then it comes to the tentacle player. They're going to play the 2 9s. And then they look at their hand up here. And they are going to play the 2 10s. And then that is going to go to the whirlpool player. Maybe the whirlpool player is looking at their hand here. They have 2 10s. And they're like, ooh, the 2 10s would make this hand be perfect. So they're going to take with that. And then they have 2 9s over here. They're going to take with that. And coming to this player now. So they're back on the situation. Maybe they play just the 3 11s, right? So now you're going to check 3 and 3. Since it's equal, this actually lock comes off. So players could play down here if they could. I'll explain why they can't really. Because you can't take cards if there's 3 there already. So in this situation, it's a little bit tough because there's 3 here. Let's say it used to look like this, and if this did unlock, players can now take this and then play on this and do whatever they want. Since it's at 3, now players can't take from here. So coming to the tentacle, they'd have to play, you know, the cards that aren't in the game, because at 3 player it doesn't go to 12 or 13. So they're just going to pass, they're going to pass, they're going to pass. That is why this token is somewhat useful, because, you know, it could be a little bit confusing on who's recently passed or who last played, because how it works is when everyone passes and the last player, it comes back to them, you're actually going to wipe this trick fully. So this is, again, like a climbing shooting game. And then the player who last played is going to play with like an empty slate. So they could play a 3 and a 4, for example. And then it would move on to the next player. So just to be clear, if a player plays to the trick with either hand, they get this token here. And if it goes to the next or all the other players and they either pass with, you know, both hands, or if they collect with one or both of the hands only, like they don't play to the trick, and it gets back to the person with this token here, then it wipes and that player leads. You can also just pass with one of them. So for example, if it came to this tentacle monster here and they played 2 8s, and then it came to their bottom and they, you know, they could take those 2 8s if they wanted to, but also maybe they don't want to do anything with their bottom hand, their earth hand, they could just pass. So then they only did 1 action. So play like this is going to continue until a player sheds out. So maybe it's the mountain's turn and they decide to play 2 6s and then they're 9, and notice that they're out of cards. The person who sheds out is going to get 5 points. And then you're going to look at the heaven hand and the earth hand of each player remaining, and you're going to see what score they have for both, and you're going to give them their worst score between the two. So, for example, look at the tentacle player here. Let's say they had this as their hand. They're going to count how many negative points they got for their hand up here, how many negative points they got down here, and they're going to take the worst one. How scoring works is, as you can see on this card, you're going to count the number of copies you have for each number in your hand, and you're going to lose that many points. In a super simple case, let's say this was the hand for the tentacle player that was face up. Notice they have 2 3s and a 4. If you have 1 copy of the 4, like they do, that's -1 point. And then they have 2 3s, so they have 2 copies, that's actually -3 points. So again, you're going to count how many copies you have. So if they had 5 copies of a certain number, that's super bad. So essentially this punishes having multiple copies of a number, any number, in your hand. So like if you could have used it and had a really strong hand, it's actually super bad. Whereas if this was their hand up in the heaven, notice how they just have all unique numbers. So it's just -1, -1, -1, -1, -1. This is -6. Whereas if in their opening down here, if they actually had 2 3s and 2 4s, that's also -6. So notice they had more cards up here, but since they're all unique, the scoring actually punishes having more sets, especially if you have a lot of sets. Like if you look over at this whirlpool player, if this was their earth hand, oof, because they would have lost 3 points for the 2 2s. They would have lost -1 for the 6, and then since they got 4 9s, you're going to come over here and look at how many negative points 4s are, and that would be -10 points. And again, it's your worst, so you would also see how poorly they did up here, which they also did pretty poorly, and you would take the worst between it. So it'd be like 5 points probably. This player over here got -6, and this player over here probably got a lot of negative points. No matter the player count, you're always going to play 3 rounds, and then at the end of the game, whoever has the most points at the end of those 3 rounds wins. And that's how to play Stealth School. So that is Shinobu no Gaku, or Stealth School. What a hit. This is so cool. I really do dig this game. It is equal parts Linko, a Bluxen, and Scout, and it has that cool thing where you have a face-up hand and a face to yourself hand. And I think it sings. I've played it at 3 and 5 and 4, and all the counts feel good. The gameplay's interesting. It's so fun. That kind of rhythm to it. I don't have any criticisms really of the game. I think small nitpicks later, but overall it is so much fun to play. The fact that you have those 2 hands and it becomes kind of like an economy of action in a way. One of the biggest things, this happened to me, this happens every time I teach the game. I'll tell people, here are your cards, break them up into your hand, like the heaven, and then the earth, face up. And people are like, why wouldn't I just put like no cards down there, or like 1 card down there? And I'm like, well, because you're trying to like be efficient with your actions, right? And they're like, well, but I'm showing it to people. Like there's such like a sometimes disconnect where you're like, why would I ever want to show cards or put a lot of cards face up? Isn't it like hidden information? But it's cool to be like, oh no, it actually helps you balance, if you balance your hand as equally as possible, because then you're trying to shed at the same pace, right? Because you have 2 hands essentially, an action for each. And honestly, I've played a fair amount and I really don't 100% know the strategy on what to put up top and what to put down below. I think the general conceit is, like if this was your hand, you'd want to keep the 2s together, right? You wouldn't want to break up sets at all because you're just making your hand worse for no reason. So that makes sense. I do think you also want to balance highs and lows in a hand. You wouldn't want all lows in a hand or all highs up, down below. I think that's kind of starting to get to where like I don't really know what is true. I think breaking up sets is something you definitely don't want to do. But other than that, like maybe the hand with the sets, you want to put more cards in because you're going to be playing those sets all at once. So I think there is maybe some okay, like hard and fast rules, but at a certain point, especially when I'm playing with someone and teaching them for the first time, I'm like, just put them down randomly. I think if you put them down mostly randomly, like keeping sets together, you're going to do okay, especially for your first game or 2. But I love setting up moves, the comboing. It's fun to feel like you're setting yourself up for cool moves, like in the same turn. Say, this is my hand above, right? And I want to play these 2s, and then down below, though, there's like a 1. So I'll like take the 1 and I'll put it on my earth hand, and then I'll play these 2 2s from my heaven hand. And essentially being able to have double flexibility, because you can do kind of 4 different things, right? You can take from your top or below hand, or you can play from your top or below hand. And you have all this kind of control, I think, when it comes to your turn. So even playing this at 5, you do feel like, yes, the center kind of changes around you, and comparing it to Scout. Scout, you don't quite know what you're going to get when it gets played in front of you, you know? Because Scout, you scout from what's at the table, and if it's a big thing, you might get what's there. But usually, someone like plays before you in Scout, so it's kind of random what you're going to get. But in this one, you can kind of see the ebb and the flow of things, especially like the locking mechanism. You can see if someone plays a bigger set, like 2 or 3 cards, and it locks, and you're like, okay, that's going to be a little bit safer. That's going to kind of get around to me in 5-player. I do think I probably preferred it 4 and 3, because I think you just get to play more, and it gets back to you more, and you have a little bit more influence on the center. But honestly, like, this game's really, really fun. I think James Nathan tweeted about it best, where it shares DNA with Linko and a Bluxen, and that's kind of a big feeling it has. The scouting is really fun, or scouting. The taking cards is really fun, similar to Scout. But yeah, it feels like a fun twist on games we've covered before, like Linko, Bluxen, Hachi Train, or Nana Toridori. It feels like that too. It feels like a step up from those, but still not too complex. Like, you can teach this to anyone. I have taught it to different familiarity with climbing shedding. It's landed really well. I think it sings, and it gives a lot of fun choices. And one thing I love, which is so cool, the scoring is so interesting. It punishes you for your hubris in a way. Like, if you get dealt all these singles and someone goes out relatively quick and you just have all these singles, that's just, point. As opposed to if these were 3 10s, like, it's actually way more negative points if you kind of had a better hand and you could have gone out maybe-ish. So there's kind of like a fun push and pull of near the end, you still have choices like, oh, if that person's going to go out, I don't really want to take those 2 3s to add to my 2 3s because then I have a huge liability. But if they don't go out, then I have like a really strong meld that I can play, right? So it's really cool. I think overall, there's nothing I would really critique about this game. I think it's super, super smooth. I think the rules teach maybe, again, a little tough for people to understand. People splitting their hands is a little tough to understand, but once you get a hand in, it's super streamlined, super fun. I do think, again, maybe where this goes and like the pacing of like when to clear the trick, there are some nuances, but I don't think one hand, like after you play one hand, anyone at all would be confused on how to play this game. So overall, I really dig this game. I think so far, the games I've played from Tokyo Game Market, this is my favorite, and it definitely gets a seal, so it feels good. I haven't given a seal in a while. Yeah, I like that feeling. I like that seal feeling, that ceiling. So thank you so much for watching. This was Stealth School, I think. I am so excited. Again, put a comment down below for the giveaway, and I cannot wait. This is going to be an absolutely wonderful year. It's so funny to have a birthday so close to New Year's, because I'm like, Happy New Year's last video, and then this video I'm like, Happy New Year of my life. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye!